nice to see you. Thanks, Sheila. We're in the Beaver Hall studios with the Edinburgh Drawing School. Mariah is my lovely model, and this is the last demonstration of the 3 days. So we'll see what happens. But I was just noticing that after lunch you might find that you want to kind of come in with something that feels quite bold. So I'm using you can see there's quite a runny consistency of paint, and scooping it up with the 2-inch brush. And I want to place down something, like putting the direction of the mark that way means that whatever I put in there then will flow that way. And I wanted to kind of create a bit of something clear and deep in tone to anchor down the hair there. So with my eyes half closed, I just want to clarify it too and see whether the shape of the face, the size of the face needs to be smaller in relation to the hair, and I think it does. So I'm going to create more hair here. More hair here. Thing to say. Okay. So yeah, because looking at the width and the length and just the volume of it, it feels like Mariah has this lovely fine fine elegance to her face, you know, and I think that the hair could do with having a little bit more volume to it. I mean, it's not that dark all the way down, so maybe I can do something a bit different there. But also, it could be that the hat will drop down a bit too. Have I gone too far? I think I might have gone a little bit too far with the, you know, down and back. So I could lift a little bit off. But half closing my eyes, I did want to increase the volume of the hair a little bit there. Okay, and what would the next thing be now, I'd say, would be to re-establish the line where the hat meets the hair. Looking really at the shape that's created by the face and the jawline. I could just put a touch for the jawline so that we can see that it's coming up into the into the hair here. And that colour is a nice kind of a warm, it's a bit of burnt sienna, I think, that's sitting there. And it's no harm to have a bit of warmth, I think, introduced to the skin, so that we know this is skin and this is hair very clearly. And there's also of course, the neck as it sits back into the jacket. Just a little bit of a printed edge there, which I wanted to really not have any bends in it. It needs to feel like it's in a single direction, personally, I feel. And then I was going to do something to describe where the hat meets the hair again, just to really clearly let myself know. With my eyes half closed, I can just about trust bits of it. Like, I'm not going to say I know everything, but I know bits of it. And that's kind of enough. Like, let's see now, this is a little bit of dark here too. A helpful kind of a wave. And here, if I pull and lift, it'll give the direction there. Where you lift, the brush tends to kind of have an accumulation of paint as well. Yeah, probably put in more here than was needed, didn't I? It's a great opportunity now for me to show you how to lift off. So, you know, you can kind of just redress the balance. Once it's dry especially, it'll create a new edge for you. That might have an effect that's a bit more satisfying than you know, than just the white paper behind. So I'm kind of alright with it being a little bit here, there and everywhere. Maybe some touches there too, so that it's not all light through it, because it feels like the body of the hair is an important shape to allow me to distinguish then what's happening in the face and the shape carved by the hair into the face. Even although the hair is kind of, you know, fairly loose as it approaches the face, it's still a helpful shape to help me to, you know, I know the curl there is kind of corresponding to the shadow underneath the cheekbone a bit. You know, it's helping to identify the bulb of the cheekbone here. There, yeah. And then I think I put some of the dark red into the colour that I was using for the hair, because I just didn't clean the palette. But I think it's dark too, like it needs to be dark. It needs to be dark, and I'm noticing where it sits. Let's see, where does it sit now in relation to the face in the front, and in relation maybe to the bit of hair that's left the back, like. So I think the scarf sits there somewhere, as far as I can figure out. So I'm not relying on what's already there. I'm kind of believing my eyes now. And I think mostly you can do that all the way up to the end. Like in the closing seconds, you might want to emphasize one part above another in order to...
Anya, what's that colour you're putting on now?
Alizarin crimson.
What is that?
Well, it was into the dirty mix of brown and blue, I think, that I used for the hair.
It's so much darker than my alizarin crimson.
Yeah, it has the blue in it. And I'm putting a bit more blue in it again now because I think the dark is good there. I think it's good to have that. And with the seated figure, it's kind of nice to have something that carries her on down the way, like. And then on the other side of the neck is that colour too. It's a little bit nondescript and things, but later on I could re-establish the edge there that says the scarf goes around the neck and out the other side. So that little thing there isn't helping, is it? Because that's interrupting the neck. I want it to read as though it's coming around the other side. So why is there a gap? It should really meet the scarf here, but I want there to be a little bit of a difference between the two. The front is brighter, so I'll just put some alizarin on its own in the front. I don't know if I'm getting too pernickety altogether in that, but in any case there's some of that colour here too. And it's kind of nice to have three areas that have a flash of that. And really, I think up there I could maybe put a touch of something else too, just to give it a bit of oomph, the flower, you know. And I'll catch it. I think I'll catch that drip. It might end up falling down that little run there. But I'll try and catch it now before it goes through. Some runs are helpful. It's nice to anchor it down, but if you have a run that's going to come through your face, it won't generally be very helpful. And now gosh, I'm kind of moving quick enough, aren't I? 7 minutes there now. So I maybe should make myself do 15-minute demonstrations all the time. There's no faffing around to start with them, because it could take 15 minutes to start out. But do take your time settling in first at the start of the painting. It's worth.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you said, but splattering, do you do that to loosen up as much as anything else?
Yeah, it kind of limbers up the shoulders. Anything that kind of relates to movement beyond the page is great. Like anything that invests itself, the energy into the mark that's hitting the page. And I think feeling loosened up in yourself, especially opening the chest, gives you confidence. So, but also the splash feels as well like I'm willing to risk losing it all, kind of. There's a bit of that. And it needs to, I think, be there, that kind of knowing it's life or death, kind of, but it's not really. There's something about like, actually I think it's like practicing that life or death feeling without it being life or death, which is kind of good. So there's something about that, and also it's following the direction of the body, and it'll link up with whatever's there before, hopefully, and pull that in, so it's no longer got a hard edge to it, but it's carried on without me having to labour over it. And now I think it could do with a little bit of that turquoisey colour, maybe mixed in with some Viridian green, in order to capture the lovely. No, it's not going to be as bright because all of these runs will feed into it, but I just maybe could even indicate for myself that there's a colour that does something like that around there. And we can do that again, because I want to say this is green coat, like. I should have stood here. Are you getting wet? I can't believe that. Is it rebounding off the paper or something? I can pride myself on having a bit of a... Do you know what now? The front of the neck and the back of the shoulder there run parallel to each other. And then the drop straight down comes at the rim of the hat. So I feel like that's a helpful anchor point. And of course you could have the stitching on the corner of on the shoulder as well, to help identify the cross section of the body there, the arm. But then maybe that needs to lift, I don't know, if that looks a bit like narrow. I can put that there, I think, just to say I'm not sure. And anytime you put a colour down in one place, you can find somewhere to put it elsewhere too. And all the working up around it gives you a license to re-enter the face with more courage. And now we can kind of find something maybe a little bit more clear for explaining things like the location of the eye. There's these lovely long eyelashes above and below. So I'm going to mix some of the Van Dyke brown with the ultramarine blue in order to make a dark that will identify the line of the eyelash, the upper eyelash and the lower eyelash. And like the shoulder, I'm going to consider where the eyelash line enters and exits the edge of the face. Somewhere like about here, I think, is the direction that it's going in. And it'll cause me to drop I think the nostril might be kind of about there, if that's where the upper eyelash line is. And I can flesh that out a bit later, just for myself to identify where it is. It feels helpful. And it might be too that there's a little adjustment to the line dividing the lips. But I'm going too far there. I need to first have another look at so the lower lid then, if I were to continue that, kind of runs out to the tip. So there's a shorter lower lid, and they don't necessarily connect. And I feel like the upper eyelash extends further than the lower one does, further to the left. And then there's the eyebrow, which arcs. It comes quite close to the edge of the face, and it's got an arc that goes that way. And then there's the curve of it, or the direction that goes this way. And always step back to and remember to consider it from a distance a little bit, because I could soften some edges of that eyebrow and make it less clear, you know. Here too. And maybe
when you do flat brushes, make you look for the lines rather than get distracted by curves.
I think so. I think that's why I like them so much, is that you can print the general direction of the eyelid without thinking it's an eyelid. You can just see it as a parallel line to the eyelash, you know, and then you can do your shadows around it that might create a curve by using the corner of the brush. So yes, I think it makes for more economy in the mark making. And if you've gone to the trouble of discovering a direction, to be able to print it on in one move feels helpful, you know, like you've studied where it might be, and then you can print it down before it gets any faffing or dilution. It's just there. And just, you know, if I can find something of the shadow of the skin beyond the iris there. I don't know now, let's see. It's okay, I think, yeah. I might just leave the eye area now and find some cadmium red to bring some colour, flesh colour kind of into the some other areas. A little bit of warmth feels kind of useful at this stage. And even just to help me decide, I'd say I'd probably shave a bit off the nose there. I know that there's a drop hanging down there, but I think this bit is dry. So just to let it still to play for kind of. And then the lower lip has got a bit of colour to it as well, and I want to find something more there. Maybe a little bit of warmth in the upper lip too. This is just the cadmium red now. And I think while I've got the warmth on the brush, I might as well stick some into the eyelid, which tends to have a warmth to it. Okay, that's a little bit. So I just wet the brush, and it's damp now and it's not got colour on it, just to help me find something to push it around so it's not a big blob of red there. And then the lower lip here, this is going to help, you know, having a little bit of red on the brush to diminish the colour that was there before, where I thought the line dividing the lips was. And I'm just going to lift and move it a little bit as I've got the other colour on the brush, but I want to lift it more. So I'm really scrubbing at it now. Because I want the lower lip really to be one single. I'm going to forget that went off there for 1 second. Is that okay? I shouldn't say that. I did say 15 minutes, okay. I'm going to do the lower lip, shadow there, and then that.
Only it's a long-term plan to leave some paper unpainted white.
Yeah, I probably would. Yeah, depending on the length of time I have with the model, like I would say, it's
If
useful.
you were trying to finish it, would you?
I would definitely leave white paper. I'd say, yeah, unless I've done something that is so hard to get back from that
Oh,
if
yeah,
I can't
really,
lift out,
really.
I would then maybe use some body colour, as we say. Maybe. But I'd say that's it, you know, that's as far as I'll go there. But and you could continue kind of, I love that play at the edge of the face where you can use things like turquoise and purple and identify parts of the face through colour, through different colours, you know. And once you've got the position of the features, that's when your individual unique kind of playfulness can enter centre stage, and you can enjoy, you know, bringing a bit of magic to it, like. But it does take the discipline first, I suppose, or a dance between the two, where you're finding it as best you can. And sometimes just give yourself a break and let yourself play with this brightness somewhere else. You know, even if you haven't kind of achieved what you wanted, you're still allowed to have a bit of fun, like. So thank